In the world of Harry Potter, magic takes many forms, but few are as thrilling, dangerous, and legendary as the flying broomstick. Imagine the wind tearing past your face, the ground a blur beneath you, as you push your broom to its very limits. These aren't just sticks with bristles, they're masterpieces of wizard engineering, infused with powerful enchantments that could mean the difference between victory and a very long fall. From ancient splinter-ridden brooms that wobbled through the air, to sleek, lightning-fast racers that could outpace a dragon, each model carries its own story. Tales of Quidditch glory, secret enchantments, bribes, betrayals, and even mysterious disappearances from the broom market that no one ever fully explained. But here's the real question. Of all the brooms that ever soared through the skies, which one was truly the greatest of them all? And why did some of them vanish from history without a trace? To understand where these legendary brooms came from, we have to go back, way back, to a time when flying was far from smooth or safe. The very first recorded use of a broomstick for flight dates all the way to 962 AD, and trust me, you wouldn't want to ride one. These early models were nothing more than crude wooden shafts tied to bundles of twigs, built without a single thought for comfort or aerodynamics. There were no cushioning charms, no stabilizing spells, and definitely no magical safety features. Riders sat on splintered wood, their legs chafed raw by rough bristles, and steering? That was more prayer than precision. One strong gust of wind, and you were at the mercy of the skies. Speed was unpredictable, altitude control was nearly impossible, and the vibration from the broom could rattle your teeth out. Back then, broomsticks weren't designed for sport or luxury, they were survival tools. Witches and wizards used them to travel long distances quickly, to escape danger, or simply to feel the rush of freedom that only flight could offer. But that freedom came with a price. Frozen hands in winter, rain soaking through every stitch of clothing, and the ever-present risk of a deadly fall if your grip slipped. And yet, even with all those dangers, the magic of flight was irresistible. People kept riding, innovating, tinkering with designs, desperate to make flying smoother, faster, safer. Centuries of trial and error led to one moment in the early 19th century when a single invention changed everything, a spell so simple yet so revolutionary that it transformed broomsticks forever. In 1820, a witch named Elladora Ketteridge was about to make broomstick history. Legend has it she was fed up with the bruises and back pain from years of riding old-style brooms, so she invented something so brilliant that it's still used today, the cushioning charm. This charm was woven directly into the handle of the broom, creating a soft, invisible seat that adapted perfectly to the rider's body. Suddenly, long flights became bearable, Quidditch matches less painful, and broomsticks, well, they started to feel less like a torture device and more like a luxury ride. But comfort wasn't the only upgrade. This invention opened the door for speed. With riders no longer struggling to endure the pain of sitting on bare wood, broom makers could finally design sleeker, faster, and more aerodynamic models. The age of racing brooms had begun, and once it started, there was no going back. It's the same leap forward that took us from clunky old carts to sleek sports cars, only, with a slightly higher chance of plummeting to your doom if you weren't careful. And speaking of not plummeting, if you don't want this channel to crash to the ground like a rogue Comet 260, you might want to hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, it's safer than flying without a cushioning charm. With broomstick comfort finally solved, the stage was set for the giants of the industry to rise, and none made a bigger splash than the Nimbus Racing Broom Company. In 1967, they released the Nimbus 1000, and it was like going from a rusty old bicycle to a Formula One car overnight. The series only got better. Nimbus 1700, 2000, and eventually the iconic Nimbus 2001. The Nimbus 2000 became famous as Harry Potter's very first racing broom, a gift from Professor McGonagall after she saw him catch his first ever snitch. It could reach incredible speeds while still handling turns so smoothly, it felt like the broom could read your mind. Then came the Nimbus 2001, the ultimate status symbol of its time. Lucius Malfoy famously bought the entire Slytherin Quidditch team one, instantly sparking jealousy and a few very tense matches. The 2001 was faster, sharper in corners, and had that sleek, polished black handle that screamed money. But Nimbus had competition. The Comet Series, especially the Comet 260 and 290, were solid, dependable brooms used by players who couldn't afford a Nimbus, but still wanted speed and precision. They were the workhorses of Quidditch, maybe not the fastest, but reliable enough to win matches if you had the skill. These models weren't just equipment, they were statements. In the wizarding world, the broom you flew said as much about you as the car you drove in the Muggle world, maybe more. For Harry, broomsticks weren't just sports equipment, they were his ticket to freedom. His first Nimbus 2000 wasn't just the fastest broom he'd ever seen, it was a statement. In a world where he'd spent his entire childhood locked away in a cupboard, suddenly he had something that made him special. It purred under his touch, shot through the air like it had a mind of its own, and for the first time in his life, Harry wasn't just another kid. He was the seeker who could change the outcome of any game. Every match was a story. The wind screaming past his ears, the rush of chasing the golden snitch, the roar of the crowd when he pulled off impossible dives. The Nimbus 2000 became part of him, so much so that when it was destroyed, it felt like losing a friend. That day in his third year, when a swarm of Dementors swarmed the pitch during a storm, the cold was bone deep. Harry fell from the sky unconscious, and his broom was carried by the wind straight into the branches of the Whomping Willow. By the time it was over, all that remained were splinters. For most players, that would have been the tragic end of their Quidditch days. But Harry, he came back stronger. His godfather, Sirius Black, sent him the broom every player dreamed of but almost no one could afford, the Firebolt. The Firebolt wasn't just an upgrade, it was a revolution. From 0 to 150 mph in 10 seconds flat, flawless maneuverability, and a finish so sleek it gleamed like liquid night. Riding it felt less like flying, and more like becoming the wind itself. Every turn, every dive, every impossible save felt effortless, like the broom knew what Harry wanted before he even moved. Owning a Firebolt was like showing up to a race in a Bugatti Chiron, while everyone else had rusty old mopeds. The balance of power on the pitch shifted instantly. Harry didn't just play Quidditch anymore, he dominated it. And hey, while I can't exactly send you a Firebolt, I can give you something that might make your day a little faster. Hitting that subscribe button. It costs less than a galleon, takes less than a second, and unlike the Nimbus 2000, it definitely won't get smashed by a tree. But after the Firebolt, something strange happened in the wizarding world. For decades, broom companies had been locked in a fierce race to make each model faster, sleeker, and more powerful than the last. But once the Firebolt hit the skies, the competition just seemed to vanish. No new revolutionary models, no major breakthroughs, almost as if broom makers had hit a wall. In the books, we never hear about a Firebolt 2 or a rival broom that could match it. Fans have spent years debating why. Some believe the Firebolt was simply too good. It set the bar so high that other manufacturers couldn't compete. Others think there were political or economic reasons. After all, during the later years of Harry's time at Hogwarts, the wizarding world was on the brink of war. Maybe broom companies shifted their focus from sport to survival, producing transport brooms for Aurors or the Order instead of luxury racers. Then there's the more magical theory. Some say the Firebolt's enchantments pushed the very limits of broomstick magic. Any faster and you'd risk destabilizing the charms that kept it airborne. In other words, the Firebolt might have been the fastest a broom could ever safely go without catastrophic results. And yet, the lack of innovation left a strange hole in the broom market. Quidditch fans wondered, was the Firebolt the peak of broom technology, or just the peak that the public was allowed to see? But the story doesn't end there, because hidden in the lore are whispers of rare, almost mythical brooms that never made it to mass production. Beyond the famous names like Nimbus and Firebolt, there's a hidden world of broomsticks that most witches and wizards have never even heard of. These were never mass-produced, never stocked in quality Quidditch supplies. Some existed only as prototypes, others as one-off creations for the elite or the eccentric. Take the Oakshaft 79, for example, a sturdy long-distance broom built for endurance rather than speed. It was the choice of early adventurers who braved treacherous cross-country flights. Then there's the Silver Arrow, a sleek 20th century broom so rare that even seasoned collectors have never seen one up close. Its acceleration was so smooth that riders said it felt like gliding on a whisper. But the most intriguing rumors speak of brooms with personalities, semi-sentient creations that bonded with their owners, reacting almost emotionally to their mood. Some claim these brooms could refuse to fly for a rider they didn't trust, or even protect their owner mid-air during dangerous weather. Whether these tales are fact or just Quidditch locker room legends, no one can say for sure. What we do know is that the cushioning charms inventor, Elladora Ketteridge, once experimented with advanced enchantments that gave her test brooms strange quirks. One would hum softly when it was happy, another would automatically tilt toward the safest route home. These rare designs never became mainstream, but they left behind a tantalizing thought. If magic can make brooms comfortable, fast, and agile, could it also make them alive? From the shaky, splinter-ridden sticks of the 10th century to the aerodynamic rockets like the Firebolt, broomsticks have been more than just a way to get from A to B. They've been symbols of status, innovation, and pure adrenaline. They've carried champions to Quidditch glory, saved lives in daring escapes, and, if the legends are true, maybe even formed bonds with their riders. And yet, there's still so much we don't know. What if the fastest broom ever made isn't the Firebolt, but something locked away in a ministry vault? What if there are brooms out there so advanced they could make the Firebolt feel like an old clean sweep? The truth is, the world of flying broomsticks is as mysterious as magic itself, and every time you think you've learned it all, there's another story waiting to be told. So, if you've enjoyed this deep dive into the skies above the wizarding world, here's your next challenge. Hit that subscribe button. Think of it like grabbing the handle of a brand new Firebolt, smooth, fast, and guaranteed to take you places you've never been before. And the best part? Unlike a broomstick, you don't even need a cushioning charm to enjoy the ride.